Didn't stop in and tell you I was leaving, but I was a half hour late to start with. Yeah, that's how it is. No, we got another appointment Monday. We'll look for that.
I'm taking one picture
Should,
and
it's
I'm
at
out.
3 o'clock and be there 15 to 20 minutes early.
So they're gonna take one picture and then I'm
It's gonna
leaving.
need to be there at 3 o'clock, but need to be there 15 to 20 minutes early. That'll work for them. Yeah.
Our part won't take very long.
But the gal
Tom's
scheduled
not
one to
coming?
expect to be there. Sorry?
Person not coming?
I didn't recognize you around there with
Funny
your
guy.
face covering.
I kinda thought he was,
Yeah,
when he talked this
I
morning,
know,
he said
I
he was
know.
gonna come, but he's not.
That helps.
Yeah, there you go.
122, no, your husband has done a fantastic job.
I have one daughter that's COVID.
Thank you.
And I have a daughter that's got COVID. And a son that's got COVID. Des Moines, Iowa. Got none. But they're getting over it.
gonna stick this up here to help since can't be here all the time.
Next time they're gonna take a hammer to it.
You just have to get used to when you call sessions. Closed sessions.
Did anybody ever watch The West Wing, like it was on NBC and stuff, and like one time they left the tape recorder in there, and they literally took a gavel and just smashed it, the turkey to the wire, ran in there and smashed it. His stop button wouldn't go, you couldn't turn off. Be side by side.
You can give it to us in the hallway. On the way out. There you go, Jim.
Yeah, I just put my recorder on. Stuff in there.
Your show. Yes. Yeah. You don't need to listen anymore, right?
She's got it figured out. She's got it figured out.
Who's gonna change this?
Tell them you're still the boss for another 30 minutes.
You forgot to tell him the boss.
And you do get your name, please.
Okay. Well, at least mine won't be stuck in there like my predecessor's was. You guys had to chip I know you guys had to chip away at it for.
You get your name plate? What? So after, we'll hand it to you. No, take it right here.
Because you want to be on camera. You want everybody to see.
He's like, I'm done with cameras.
You're right here, right behind your name plate. And Sherry's right here. So when Jim comes up first, you're gonna put your hand, get in the spot, and
With our mask on?
say, you don't have to. And then,
Wrong government, Joe.
then you'll exit,
You want
and then Donna will come in. And then you'll be
I'm taking
over.
it off.
Hey,
Sorry, we're full.
Step by you again?
no, you're up there. You're in my spot.
Yeah, it's wrong, man.
I'm not worried about it. Who is that behind the Foster Grant?
What?
You can't hide from us.
Who, me? Or him?
You can't hide from us.
I'll be sure to zoom in on that.
Too late.
Camera doesn't see.
All right, everybody, thank you for coming. It's 5:30, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the invocation, and Andrew, would you be so kind as to help us with the invocation, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, we'd like to ask for your guidance and wisdom as we pass over torches and positions this evening to newfound talent here in North Platte, brought to us by the people of North Platte to help guide North Platte for the future. With your guidance and wisdom, may you guide them to the best decisions. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get started, well, wait a minute, we better do roll call, hadn't we? Roll call, please.
Nestle,
Here.
Backustos,
Here.
Peterson. Here. Lucas. Here. Lee,
Here.
Harmon. Here. Reeker,
Here.
Ostendahl.
Here.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do the old business, approve minutes of November 17th, 2020, and place on file certification of November 3rd, 2020. And
So moved on items 1 and 2.
all right, that motion passes. It's my pleasure this evening to provide an award to North Platte's Water Treatment Facility. They have received top honors that recognize both its staff and its facility. The North Platte Wastewater Treatment Plant received the 2020 Scott Wilbur Medium Facility Best in Class Award. The Scott Wilbur Awards are named for a former wastewater facility operator from Omaha that routinely exceeded operations and maintenance expectations. The Scott Wilbur Awards Committee recognizes wastewater facilities across Nebraska that provide excellence in operations and maintenance. Staff to include our utilities manager, Lane Grosseth, our superintendent, Doug Meyer, operators Eric Ferreter, Tyson Geisler, Orrin Seidel, lab tech Tom Carson, maintenance Sam Trent, and part-time maintenance Bob Lewis. So thank you, gentlemen, for everything that you do out there to establish this fantastic award. Doug, I assume maybe you'll come up for all three of you? Yeah, this is awesome. Gentlemen, yeah, come on.
We'll let Doug this time. That's a big one.
This is awesome.
You gotta take your mask off for 10 seconds.
Don't breathe.
There we go. Like,
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys are awesome. You guys take care of yourself. You guys are awesome. Okay. Oh, yes, I need to do that. Thank you. Okay, before I go any further, I had best talk about the Open Meetings Act. The current copy of the Open Meetings Act in Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the city council chambers. All right, now we'll move into the show of appreciation to our former elected official folks, and we'll go ahead and do that, and then we're going to do one at a time because of the COVID thing. So I will present the award to. We'll begin with Jim Backenstoes. I'll present him with the award, and then we'll move in the new person to take the oath. Okay? All right.
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate nor am I a member of any political organization or party that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, John.
Glenn, you'd be so kind, my man. Plaque for appreciation, thank you.
You for what you've done, right?
You've been a blessing, my man. Thank you. Pete, I think you're up.
Same question, Pete. Do you want to read this, or do you want me to read it ahead of time? Read it with you?
It doesn't matter. Totally up to you. You go.
I, Pete Voles,
I, Pete Volz,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate, nor become a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate or become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or by violence.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
And then if you just sign that.
Thank you. Andrew? Andrew?
Thanks for those 8 years.
You've been an amazing person. Thank you so very much. We appreciate everything
Brad Garrett.
Mr. Garrett, if you'd be so kind.
Same question. Do you want to read this yourself, or you want me to read it with you?
Up to you. Let's do it.
All right.
Follow sync.
All right. I, Brad Garrett,
I, Brad Garrick,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of the council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate, nor become a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate, nor become a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence. So help me God.
Your seats right over here, Brad. Lawrence? Come on up, Lawrence. Lawrence, this is for you. Thank you so much for your service. You're truly appreciated. Thank you for what you've done for the community. Okay.
Good luck, Lawrence.
Mark, if you want to come in, please.
You want to read it, Mark? Do you want to, or you want me to?
I could just read it if you want.
I,
I,
Mark Woods,
Mark Woods,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of, any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence. So help me God.
Thank you. You're up next.
Yes, I'm it.
Lloyd, on behalf of the City Council of North Platte, the city employees, and all the citizens of North Platte, I want to thank you for your years of service, 8 years of service as mayor of this community. You've been a leader through some difficult times. You've done an excellent job. You've done what you thought was best in your heart, and we really appreciate your dedication to the community.
Thank you.
And we wish you continued success in the future.
Thank you, John. Thank you all. Oh, speech? Thank you. It's been an honor. I've been blessed beyond belief. This community is the most amazing city in the state of Nebraska, and I suspect that that's not going to change since I'm not going to be here. You're all in good hands. I appreciate that your willingness to support North Platte and the commitment that you will enhance in the future. So on behalf of myself, thank you. My lovely wife, I don't think I could have done this without her, obviously. She's certainly a part of this whole deal package as well. My stepmom, Gloria, you've been awesome. I've drugged you all over the place, so I thank you for your tireless efforts to keep my head above water, and I really, truly appreciate that. So thank you, everybody. You're all amazing people. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks, Lloyd.
I failed to mention Renee. I officially feel bad because Renee has been a huge help over the past 8 years. She kept me on track, kept me where I'm supposed to be, which was no easy task by any stretch of the imagination. So Renee, thank you so very, very much. You're awesome, and I know these folks will be in good hands in the future as well. So thank you very, very much.
Reference, yeah, do you want to do it? How do you want to do it? I know you've got lots of freedom. Okay. I, Brandon Kelleher,
I, Brandon Kelleher, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I bear faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of mayor according to the law and to the best of my ability. And I do further swear that it's hard to breathe through a mask. Excuse me. And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence, and that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence, so help me God.
congratulations.
Thank you. I do have something I want to do really quick, sorry, before I get going here. Thank you, sir. Notice I'm using Renee's hand stuff here, so thanks for being here. Look forward to working with you. I don't want to give anybody anything, whether you've already had it or not, so.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. Look forward to working with you.
Ditto to you.
Thank you for being here. Look forward to working with you. Gonna have to buy Renee some hand cream. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Nislin, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Look forward to working with you. Virtual handshake.
You could have just passed that around ahead of yourself.
I probably could have done that. I promise it's all German. You as well. Mr. Hughley, it's good to see you here.
I look forward to working with you
Thank you.
because the city and county are a good partner and will continue to be.
Thank you very much. To my lovely wife. Okay. Thanks for indulging me, everyone. Okay, I was given a lesson on these. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are at the roll call of the new council.
Nestle,
Here.
Tryon. Here. Wolf.
Here.
Lucas.
Here.
Garrett.
Here.
Carmen.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Woods.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to pause briefly, and for those of us that are new, which that is half the council, of course, and myself, we're going to have a little lesson on how to vote. So,
Your clicker should be in front of your chair there, and 1 is yes, 2 is no. And you don't have to point them at any of the screens. You should use, sometimes you gotta push the button a couple times before.
so one is yes and 2 is no. Okay, so we're going to have a test vote, is that correct?
That's fine.
Okay, this is a test vote. This doesn't mean anything. It's simply a test of the technology and those that are using it. So you can either vote yes or no at this point. It makes no difference.
Carmen?
Mr. Carmen, would you mind hit, there we go, okay. We know you know how to do it, but just for the, oh, there it goes. Okay, we had 7 yeses and 1 no. It's gotta be different, huh? You're all officially confident in voting now, okay. How you vote from this point forward is your decision, but I just wanted to make sure everyone knew how to do it, so, okay. All matters under the consent agenda. We're moving to the consent agenda now, please. All matters under the consent agenda are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item for consent by request. Send application of Noel's Tacos Mexican Food for a Class 1 liquor license, beer, wine, and distilled spirits on sale only located at 320 East Francis Street to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission with no recommendation. The second one, adopt resolution for signing of the year-end certification of city street superintendent for 2020 and authorize the mayor to sign the year-end certification of city street superintendent for 2020. The third one, approve Mayor Livingston's ratification actions, votes, at the League Association of Risk Management, also known as LARM, virtual annual members meeting on October 22nd, 2020, including the election of the LARM Board of Directors.
I move we approve items 3, 4, and 5 of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, that motion passes 8-0. Thank you. I just have a few words to say before we continue. First of all, I want to thank all the Mayor Livingston and all the exiting council members for their great service here to all of us. We've done a lot of thanking of them tonight, and we appreciate that they've all given more than most of us will know, so we appreciate that from them. To the new council, I want to say, you can't see me smile behind my mask, but I'm very happy to be here. Hold on, everyone. We're going to do some great things over the next 4 years. We're going to do some things that probably have never been done in our community. And it's going to be great because we're going to work very hard. And I'm very happy that all of you are here. We are going to create that community where our children and our grandchildren want to live. And I know that you're the group to do it. So thank you very much for being here. My pledge to you is that I will provide you with the very best and most accurate information whenever possible. And it will also be balanced. So when we have issues, I will endeavor to present you both sides of the issue to a great extent, once in a while in somewhat of an unorthodox way that you might not be used to. I'm a firm believer in that reading something is great, but experiencing it is even better. So when we have the opportunity to experience a situation that our citizens are in, we may take a field trip where we'll have the opportunity to do that. Hopefully you'll be supportive of that approach. We will not always agree, and that's okay, because that's why we're here. We're here to make the very best decision. That's our purpose here, the very best decision for those we represent. So when I present information and when I don't agree with you or you don't agree with me, I will operate securely in the knowledge that you have the best interest of those you represent at heart, and I hope you'll do the same for me. Several community members have mentioned to me over the past few months that they feel that our community is on the edge of success. We are just about to a point of being prosperity. Great things are going to happen in North Platte in the next few years, in the next few months. We are responsible. We are the shepherds of that. We are responsible for moving this community forward in whatever form it takes. So please take your work seriously. Please give very thoughtful consideration to all the information presented to you, and we'll all get along great. Thank you for being here. End of speech. Okay. We have tonight a second reading action to adopt recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission on ordinance number 4049 to rezone certain lands from an R2 dwelling district to a I-1 light industrial district located at 720 West Front Street and 617 North Oak Street. This would be the second reading for this item. I would like to ask the city representative, Judy Clark, if she could present some facts on this issue for us first.
Mayor Kelleher, would you like me to read the ordinance?
Yes, please read the ordinance. Mr. Kibben.
An ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning the north 76 feet of Lot 4, Block 95, original town of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, and the south 56 feet of Lot 4, Block 95, original town of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, from an R2 dwelling district to an I-1 light industrial district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you, Mr. Kibben. Sorry I jumped the gun there. Okay. Now, Judy, could you give us some facts on this issue, please?
Yes, Judy Clark, Planning Administrator, Development Department, for those of you that don't know me. On this item, the public hearing was held. First, with an ordinance, you do a public hearing. That was held at the last council meeting. A few of you obviously were there, and some of you were not. So just to give you a little bit of background on what is going on here, we had an application, a request for rezoning. So at the last meeting, an amendment to the comprehensive plan was completed, and a rezoning ordinance was read on first reading. In order to rezone a property, the comprehensive plan, which is the land use map plan, has to meet the required zoning. So in this case, it had to be amended to an industrial use in order for the rezoning to occur. So that's kind of the background on the information. What the applicant is requesting to do is, this is 2 lots. He is requesting to consolidate it into 1 lot. That's in a separate action item that will be done at a later time. And then rezone both of the properties, which would now be combined into 1, as an industrial property. He is looking at putting a office space and storage building on this property, which would be essentially a contractor's office with storage, and to run his business out of there. Currently, the owner is in Sutherland, and he is wanting to relocate to North Platte. Some background on Front Street. I know there's been some hesitation, some concerns from some of the neighboring property owners. Front Street currently, the majority of Front Street is, when it comes to the comprehensive plan, It is designated as a mixed-use area, and historically, for the last probably 10 years, it has been slowly being rezoned to industrial on just a case-by-case basis. Somebody will scoop up a property and they'll end up, there's several contractors' offices along Front Street. Lusk Heating and Air is one that most recently did it. Opperly's are out there. Halls Electric first started there. They have since relocated and expanded in a different area. This is what this gentleman is looking at doing. There was at the last meeting a question as to why industrial versus commercial. There's a reason for that. One is we have somewhat set a precedence by doing industrial kind of all along Front Street. In the last, like I said, 10 years, it's been kind of going that way. You could rezone it to commercial. The issue with rezoning it to commercial in this instance is a contractor's office with storage is not a permitted use in.
Would you repeat that, Judy, please?
In a commercial district. If you rezone it to commercial, the office, contractor's office and storage is not a permitted use by right. It would have to be through a conditional use. So in order to do it that way, he would have had to have completed a rezoning and a conditional use permit, which is a two-step process versus the one-step process where we went here. I guess that's kind of the background, so if you have any questions, I will more than gladly try to answer anything. I know a few of you contacted me earlier, and I provided you with some maps that kind of gave you an idea of what was going on in that area, but more than gladly answer any questions if you have any.
Judy?
The question has become commercial and the I-1 light industrial. What is the major distinction other than the fact that it fits the situation here? I mean, do people have to worry about some industry moving in there with a manufacturing plant in this neighborhood?
That's always a possibility, because once you zone a property to industrial, there are some additional heavier industrial type uses that could possibly happen there, but it would be very unlikely for that to occur based on the size of the lot, because they would have increased screening requirements, they would have increased parking requirements. Most of the things that would be allowed in that area, because they would the only way they would fit would be something of this nature. You know, if somebody's thinking there's going to be a dye manufacturing plant come in there, I don't think that's any way that that would be possible just based off of the requirements for parking and additional setback requirements and additional screenings. It'd be very, very difficult to get that done. What I would eventually like to see happen in that area, the comprehensive plan, when it was done, 2011, I think is when we adopted the original one, that whole entire area was future land use plan as a mixed use development. Right now, we only have a choice between either commercial or industrial. And what I would like to see is eventually the Planning Commission and of course City Council come back with a new type of zoning district that would be like a business transitional or a mixed use type, that would take the fear of that heavier industrial being there. So you would just have, would allow kind of smaller industrial things like what's happening.
Judy, I have a question. I was over there, and it looks like the driveways to those two lots are going out on Oak Street,
Okay.
which is the residential part. Is there a way that that could be changed so the driveways are going out on Front Street, so the property is more, I guess, affiliated with the businesses on Front Street?
A lot of those things can, and it's going to be determined on how the developer or the property owner decides that he wants to set up his shop. I agree, coming out on Front Street would probably be a lot more beneficial. I doubt they will, I don't know. He doesn't have the site plan set up yet. He's a couple years out probably in actually construction.
So there's no way to mandate that?
There's no way to actually mandate that they absolutely have to do that, because if he could meet parking requirements and driveway requirements, I mean, we could highly suggest that that's the way he enters his.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Judy, I have the same worry. I mean, I'm normally, a big proponent of business, especially a small business like this that's asking for nothing and he just wants to work. But I'm a little troubled because there isn't a site plan. And it's hard for me, to vote yes. I'd like to know what he's planning. What's the size of the building going to be? Where are the entrances going to be? Where will the trucks come in to deliver? I'm also concerned about the fact that, is he still planning not to rough in plumbing in this building?
He is here. You could probably ask him those
Oh,
questions
okay.
if you want to. Getting a site plan until he knows the funds available for the size of the building and meeting setbacks. And like I said, this lot is not a huge lot, and there's already required setbacks. So the building is not going to be a huge building. Required setbacks from property lines, like the property to the east, for example, is a 30-foot setback with screening. So he's going to have to put up a fence or something like that. That's going to shrink that size of the lot, which is going to mandate the size of the building that he can put on there. And then that's all done, once he submits a building plan, that all goes through the review process through the engineering department, the development department, building, water, sewer, all of that.
Okay, I don't really want to mandate the size of his building or anything. I'd like to know what he has planned. The neighbors are concerned because if he were to move, be there a year and then move and sell it to somebody else, they don't know what's going to go in. And if he had plumbing roughed in at least, I would feel that he's more likely to stay. I'm kind of thinking of the neighbors here because they've made those houses in that area look pretty nice. They've made an investment in them. And so, I'd kind of have to have a little more assurance that, he will be staying. It would make me feel better.
I share the concerns with, some of the things you guys have stated. Oak Street's my big concern. I live over in that area on 5th Street. And if I lived on 5th and Oak, I personally would be upset and be concerned about that. We never go up to Front Street to go throughout town. You always run up to 4th Street because 4th Street's a lot easier to get around. So my concern is people are going to, deliveries and things of that nature. And maybe not with this business, but 5 years down the road, if he sells the property, all of a sudden you got semis going through Oak Street, dropping off stuff. That Oak Street is the issue. Front Street I get, it makes sense, but Oak concerns me.
The one thing I can tell you, if we can move forward with a different type of zoning, the Front Street area would be a perfect fit for something as a business transitional or a mixed-use development. And that's within our power of doing so in the future. Maybe within the next year we can get that accomplished and not have that worry of the industrial, because there are a number of them along Front Street that is a very similar situation.
In this situation, let's say you get that done, is that something we can circle back around, or it's a done deal at that point, isn't it?
As far as with
this specific property
site, basically what would happen is if we put in a mixed use zoning, we would change the zoning map. And so all of those areas would be rezoned to that mixed use, and they would have to follow that criteria.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mayor Keller, may I address Mr. Woods and Councilman Woods and Councilman Garrett?
Please do.
And the rest of the council. I guess my word of caution when we talk about mandating where we put driveways, that presents a whole nother challenge whenever you do future development in any location in the city. You're going to have every neighbor at any particular location in the city, not just this one, coming in and saying, well, I don't want the driveway on Jeffers Street because there's too much traffic there. So just keep that in mind as you're contemplating the issue here.
I have a few comments. Would you like me, I don't remember if we're seeing here, would you like me to come up to the podium? Is that the proper
If you would, please, just so everyone can hear you. I know you're kind of loud anyway, but I think that this would be a little better.
You know, I just wanted to share some opinions with the council on this. You know, at the last meeting, I thought this was a little bit of a no-brainer because this area is clearly in transition to this extra light industrial, let's call it. And then I was contacted by some of the constituents, and so they encouraged me to take a little harder look at it, which I did. I think what's tricky about this one, in my opinion, is that the homes that are directly around this have put recent investment into them. And so I asked Judy for what the comprehensive planning history was, and this area has been comprehensively planned as a business transitional area, I think for quite some time. 2011. Yeah, since 2011. And so it is kind of one of those things where when we have comprehensive plan hearings, nobody comes and tells you what they think. But when a project's happening in their backyard, they become more vocal, which is understandable. And so I asked Judy to share with me the number of these industrial lots between Jeffers and Carr, recognizing that the area west of Carr is a little down where Snell Services in that area. It's been developed for a long time into that area, but the area maybe from Carr to Jeffers has been more recently. And the GIS map is just a little outdated in this, but at this point it looks to me like if you don't include this site, we've got, let's see, I want to say 5 sites, 1, 2, 3, at least 4 between in that section, and then we have some others just to the west of Carr. And so we do have a pattern of shifting these into light industrial. I guess I would also encourage you when from a council standpoint, to echo what Mr. Kibben said, I'm not a big fan historically of conditional use permits because I don't like the city mandating specific things that tie into engineering and development. I think our call is to make the land use judgment, and then because once that zoning's changed, they can do whatever, you know, within that, obviously if they're meeting code at that point. I agree with Judy's comments that we may have a little bit of a hole in our zoning for kind of this extra light industrial. But where I get some comfort in this area is that I just don't think the lot sizes are big enough to where a major industrial facility would be placed, because the users of a major industrial facility, they don't want to be right next to nice houses traditionally either. Now, if we had somebody come in with a whole block or, you know, 4, 5, 6 lots, I would be much more concerned, because I just don't think with this land mass, by the time you got parking, logical use, it would be hard. I think it would be hard to do the type of activities on this size of lot that the neighbors may be concerned about. But I do want to acknowledge that the neighbors have invested in those homes, and they are nicer homes with more recent renovations than the homes that are adjacent to these various other I-1 sites on front, and I think that's what makes this a tricky call. Anyway, I just wanted to share with you some of the research that I'd done, because I do think this is a little more difficult decision. I'm going to lean towards supporting it, at least at this particular vote, just because I still am confident this is a transitional area, and I don't think the lot's big enough. But I want to acknowledge from my comments at the last meeting that after looking at this closer, I can certainly understand both sides of this one.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. I think this came before the Planning Commission, is that correct, and was passed? I think that's one thing to keep in mind as council members. The Planning Commission has been designated to review these things and do that. And so I think you have to take a look at what their recommendation is. We're not bound at it, but you have to remember you can get into some ball playing. You know, we start reversing everything they do, then we're going to get more work. I'm just saying is just think about that. It's been reviewed. I think Ty has it exactly. This is tough. You know, this is one of those deals, and you first-time council members, these are the tough decisions that we have to make, and I just ask that you take that in consideration also.
Judy, What's the difference between light industrial and commercial regarding the number of parking spaces that need to be available?
Depends on the use. Parking spaces are based on the use of what is going on in that building. This facility, for example, is probably going to take, now I'm just roughing it because I don't know the size of the building, probably going to take roughly 4 to 6 parking spaces, depending on what's going on. If you get in a retail type, like a grocery store or a little shop, you're going to base it with a lot more usage, so you're going to look at 8 to 10 parking stalls. You get into something that's a more heavy industrial, like Councilman Lucas said, you're going to end up with a lot of required parking stalls, and it's going to eat up the whole lot.
So the number of parking stalls are based on the, okay, for light industrial, it's the number of parking stalls are going to be based on the industry that's going to be moving in there?
Yes, it could be. It depends. Sometimes there's our parking is really interesting because the office space will require a certain number of parking stalls based on the square footage. The storage warehousing portion will require a certain number of parking stalls based on the square footage. You get into things like medical office buildings. Those are based on the number of practitioners per structure. It's not based off of square footage at that point. It's based off the number of practitioners. You have to have like 4 parking stalls for each practitioner. You get into beauty salons. It's 3, I believe, for each beautician that's there at the time. So the parking's really complicated, and it's based both at sometimes based on square footage of the building's use, and sometimes the capacity.
So if we were to change this designation from light industrial to commercial, and the streeters go ahead and put their business here, and 10 years down the road, they decide to sell it to let's say a medical facility where you're going to have a lot more traffic in and out, probably, we would have no say in that, right?
Go ahead.
Mayor Kelleher, Councilman Reeker, if I may, parking stalls, if it's the same in North Platte as it has been everywhere else I've been, is driven by the building classification. So if this were to change from an electrical shop to a medical office building or medical building, then that would obviously require renovation. They would be submitting a new building permit, and the building permit would have to match the IBC, which would require the number of stalls for that type of building classification.
And I presume then the same would hold true in a light industrial situation. If we change from an electrical service company, not a service company, I guess, but electrical installation company, and went to some type of more of a manufacturing industrial type of a facility, the same would hold true. That would require renovation, as you said, a new building permit, and in all probability would require more parking spaces, which may limit what could go on to that site.
Correct.
Councilman, Mayor Kelleher, Councilman Reeker, that's correct.
Thank you. And as far as landscaping and anything like that, what do we require there for either one, commercial or light industrial, or do we have requirements, or what do we do?
We have requirements. What it is a 10-foot street side buffer, or in some instances, we can do the same square footage on the property if for some reason they can't meet that requirement. But yes, there is required landscaping. In this instance, and especially where you have residential abutting industrial areas, they're required to have a certain amount of landscaping, and with this one, screening. And the building, again, has to be set back, an additional setback from the property line, just to protect the residential areas.
On the frontage or the back?
It's going to be on, this one in particular would be on the east side, the south side, and on the west side, but the west side with the driveways, depending on how that's all configured, would be a little bit different.
How do we determine frontage? Is
Um,
that gonna be based on where the driveway is, or
No.
is that gonna be based on Front Street?
The code is the front of a lot is considered the, can't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's the least distance that abutting the street. So in this instance where it is the least distance abutting Front Street would be the front of the property. Your rear would then be the alley. But this case, you're gonna have a little bit different because it's almost a double frontage. So they do have additional setbacks from Oak Street. It's not considered the front yard, but it's a side yard abutting a street, which then brings about, I think it's a 15-foot setback at that point.
And that would be from the property line,
It's from the property line, yes.
not from back a curb.
No,
That would be from the
it's where the
property
property line is. So in some instances, I mean, a survey's gonna be done because they are consolidating the two lots together. So a survey will be completed and you'll know exactly where the property lines. I can't tell you specifically. Sometimes property lines are right at the curb, sometimes they are behind the sidewalk. So I can't tell you on that one specifically without seeing the survey.
I don't recall, is there a sidewalk on the site now?
I think there is on Oak. I would have to look at a photo.
So if there's no sidewalk on front, then the owner would be required to put a sidewalk in, is that correct?
We don't necessarily require sidewalks. It depends on the location. And this one is, a little different too, because that portion could be railroad right away, because a lot of Front Street is railroad right away. So it might be a little bit different there, but yes.
If it's railroad right away, then he can't own it, right?
He can't own it, no. So we would have to we would have to see where the property lines are.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, just for a point of order, I don't think we made a motion yet. Let me do that, so we know what we're talking about. I move to adopt ordinance number 4049 to rezone certain land from an R2 dwelling district to a I1 light industrial district on second reading.
Second. We can still have some more discussion.
Yep, okay. Thanks, Jim, I appreciate that.
After what I've heard, I'm even more concerned about there not being a site plan. Like I said, I'm not trying to mandate anything, and I'm leaning towards, approving this on final reading, but for the applicant's benefit, with having to put in, the greenery on two sides and parking spaces, that's not a big lot, and I don't really know what he's planning to do. I mean, this may be a bad thing for him. For his benefit, I think it would be best, and for mine too, so I could see it, but, I'm not talking about architectural drawing. If he would just sit down and draw it up for himself, and put all that in there and see if this is even gonna work. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Carmen?
Is this gentleman here tonight?
Yes, he is.
He could probably answer some of,
Let's ask Mr. Streeter to come up, please. Even though we know who you are, if you'd state your name and address, please.
Mike Streeter, 751 Walnut Street, Sutherland. And a few of the concerns that I've already heard. Yes, there is a sidewalk along Front Street. The land surveyor's already been out there. If you visited the property, you may have seen the stakes already set. I don't remember ever saying we weren't going to rough in plumbing, but we do intend to have plumbing. I guess those are the kind of concerns I remember hearing so far.
Do you recall from memory how close the sidewalk is? The property line is to the sidewalk or to the back of the curb?
Yeah, on the west side there, I think is the concern. I think the property line was close to 15 feet back from the sidewalk.
What about on Front Street?
I was out past the sidewalk, close to the curb. No, sorry, it was not. It was about a foot back from the sidewalk.
So it's on the south side of the
South side of
sidewalk?
the sidewalk, is correct.
And then we require 10 feet south of that, Judy, for green?
Yes. We're supposed to have a 10-foot linear strip for green space. Now, that does take out for your approach or your driveway, of course.
But there would be no approach on Front Street.
Right, well, depending on how he sets that up, more than likely, probably not.
Oh, okay.
Front Street, I know, has some controlled access issues, so it would just depend on how he would end up setting up that site plan.
Most of the lots on Front have taken access off the side streets, I believe.
Yes, most of them have.
Mr. Streeter, I'm kind of new to this, but would you just go ahead and give me a picture of the use you're intending to use this warehouse or this building for?
Sure, so, I mean, we don't have an exact site plan, no, at this time, but we're intending on somewhat, like 24 by 24 office building, 8-foot ceiling.
Mr. Streeter, sorry, could you get up close to the mic? The folks at home can't hear you if you're
Yep,
not in there,
sorry.
sorry.
So kind of right now, what we're looking at is starting with like a 24 by 24 office building, just to get our office out of the garage in Sutherland. And, you know, hopefully down the road, we'll be able to add a shop to that. And I don't know size-wise on that, but, you know, I would intend to think, you know, something 30 by 40 or something like that in addition to the 24 by 24 office space.
And how many employees do you currently have?
Currently myself, my wife, and 2 others.
Do you plan on relocating here to North Platte, or where you're thinking on that?
Yeah, that's the intention, to relocate to North Platte.
Well, Mr. Streeter, I think you mentioned earlier at some point, this is not you're not gonna do a bunch of retail business out there, right?
That's correct. No, it's
primarily storage and.
Yep, storage for electrical.
In and out with your employees.
Yep, somewhere to meet at and have a meeting to go over our day's work and the previous days, and then, you know, one office person would be there throughout the day. And then, yeah, we'd meet there in the morning, head out to our jobs. You know, we might have a delivery from Crescent Electric or 3E, you know, not even once a day. They deliver on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it's, but typically, you know, there's not gonna be much traffic coming in and out of there. All of our work is done, you know, out on the job sites.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Streeter?
I presume, as Mark mentioned, given the setback requirements and the size of the building that you want to put on the site, is that going to give you adequate room for your parking and your equipment and this type of thing?
Yeah, yeah, it should fit us pretty ideal for the size of the building we want to do and parking wise. Similar to, I guess, Halls Electric would be a good reference point. You know, they've grown and overgrown, and so they had to move out to the old Shooters location. You know, if we ever grew to that size, you know, that would put us in a similar situation because of the land, you know, lot size.
Mr. Carmen?
And just for clarification, I think you mentioned earlier that you don't have a semi. You're not gonna have a semi backed up there. You've got a trailer to pull with a pickup, isn't it? Right?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's not like any big smokers coming in and out of there.
No, I don't think that you could fit one on the property.
Other questions for Mr. Streeter? Thank you. We appreciate it. Go ahead and have a chair. Mr. Hughley, do you have an opinion on this for us?
Yeah, just real quick, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not for or against. Joe Hughley, a resident of the city of North Platte, and actually I was born 5 blocks from there, just off Front Street in Lincoln. I spent most of my life there, made a big move of a block over onto 6th Street. That was a big thing, and graduated from high school there. I had a couple of questions. First of all, I was gonna make a comment. There was a question about what happened if it were commercial, for example. I don't think that that would be allowed in a commercial, I don't know. Whether it's a rezoning or a conditional use in an R1 or 2, there are different requirements for the setbacks. When you talk about wanting to see a floor plan or a site layout or something, I think Councilman Wood, you might have mentioned that. That's usually more appropriate when you have a conditional use permit that allows a use that's, you know, allowed in a zoning via a conditional use permit. You do have to submit those things. You do have to do a site plan and meet certain things that the planning commission, council may require or request with that. You talked about parking on or off of Front Street. But rezoning, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but you don't care what goes on there. You're saying that any of those uses that are allowed in a rezoning are gonna be allowed there, whether they go off onto Oak Street or Front Street. And that's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's just that it's not fair, I wouldn't think, to a developer to say, you know, I'd like to see a site plan or something, because really, you're rezoning a piece of property, and if it's allowed on there by the rezoning, it's allowed, you know, so. The only other thing I wanted to comment on, when I got 3 new board members on the county board this last time, I wanted to tell them how to vote, and our county attorney told me I couldn't do it. Here I come, and I'm gonna take that back. Good job, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have other discussion on this issue. Okay, let's vote. Okay, the motion passes 7-1. Second reading passes. Third reading on this issue will be on December 15th, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda. Accept and authorize the mayor to sign renewal of the city maintenance agreement number 20 with the Nebraska Department of Roads. Do you have anything to read on this one? Okay.
I move to accept and authorize the mayor to sign renewal of the city maintenance agreement number 20 with the Nebraska Department of Roads.
Was that a second, Mr. Carmen? Was that a second? Okay. Any discussion, anyone? Okay, let's vote. That, excuse me, that measure passes 8-0. Item number 8 is the claims.
Move that we pay the claims.
Second.
First and second. Any discussion? Questions? None? Vote, please. The claims have been paid. 8-0. That motion passes.
This would move we adjourn.
Hold on just a second. We got a couple little thing there, if you wouldn't mind holding off for just a second.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Maybe I should be offended. I'm not sure. Either way, we're okay. You'll notice that below number 8 on the agenda, there's the public agenda request. I thought I might say a few words on that. I think I've spoken to most all of you about this at one time or another. Apologize if I missed someone, but when I was campaigning, I heard quite a bit from the public that they would like to have an opportunity to request that items be put on the city council agenda for future consideration in some form. And so this is my attempt at doing that. What I would like to have this item at the end of every agenda, just before we adjourn, unless Mr. Nisley is real fast on us. Then, but then the public could come up and they could recommend a topic to be put on a future agenda. Now, of course, due to open meeting laws, we cannot discuss that topic. The member of the public could come up and say, I would like to talk about issue X in a future agenda, and then we would say, okay, thank you, and we would make note of that. And then Matt, and if the person identifies themselves from one of your awards, I would suggest that you guys might visit with that person once the meeting ends briefly to see what specifically their issue is. That would give the city and anyone else, any other relevant parties, the opportunity to research the issue, and then we would put that item on a future agenda. We would notify that citizen by letter that this will be on agenda on some future date, and then we would discuss it at that point once we'd have time to do the appropriate research. That's my vision of this. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments on this?
So you would let them know by letter that their item of interest will be on an agenda on a date certain. What about if you decide not to put it on there, would you notify them of that as well?
Yes, we will, and I would suspect that some issues people bring up will be resolved by a department of the city. We will remind the folks that this is not a place to complain about city employees or anything like that, just as the council meeting in general is not. But yes, we would notify folks either way with some rationale as to why or why not the issue was discussed or not discussed. I think that we owe that to the citizens, so.
I would just like to say I think it's a very good idea and much needed.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
I don't know if it calls for a second, but I'll give it.
Okay. Ty, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a quick question. If a council member has thoughts on an agenda item, would you like us to present that to the council in that venue, or would you prefer us to contact Mr. Kivner yourself about an idea, or do you have a preference on that process?
I don't have a preference. I'd say you could do either. If it's an agenda item that you feel you want heard in the public, then you're welcome to step to the mic or sit in your microphone. Step in your case, I guess, at this point. Or if you'd rather just visit with us in the office, that's fine too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nisley.
Move to adjourn.
Second. I did get to say second.
Okay.
Okay, I have one thing since you adjourned. There's a list in front of all of you for the photo shoot for December 15th.
I think Lawrence took mine with
I'll
it.
give you a copy,
Yeah,
not a
please.
problem. Here you go. If those times do not work for you, please let me know as soon as possible.
Thank you.
If they work, we'll just leave it as is, and you just go and get your picture taken.
Rush Limbaugh's on at 12:30.
I beg your pardon? Well, recorded.
You're not
If you haven't completed your vote to
Whatever,
adjourn,
member.
please do so.
So you can get it later?
Okay.
Can't think of the word.
Complete your vote to adjourn. Thank you. Mr. Carmen, would you
Oh.
vote yes, or either way, actually, but thank you, okay. Okay,
Seen it.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Didn't get any
Thanks.
sympathy.
Didn't make too many mistakes.
They were free.
I'm sure it'll get a little more interesting after this.
Is this gonna be our new